Jericho, lead singer of Fozzy. How are you doing today?
I am splendid.
Brilliant. So glad to have you here. So let's take it back to the early moments, before the championships, before the tours, before being a rock star and a wrestling superstar, which for most is a pipe dream. And you've managed to be on Mount Rushmore for both of them.
Oh, thanks, man.
Where did that all start?
Well, so I grew up in Winnipeg, Canada, kind of a
Mhm.
small town, kind of a Wolverhampton type of a town in Canada. And I was just really into both of those things. I started watching wrestling with my grandma probably when I was about 7 years old or 8 years old. Really enjoyed that um, as a form of entertainment. I love the individual characters. I love the show business element of it. And at the same time, I was really getting into music as well. So I was originally really much into kind of 60s rock because that's what my dad was into, the Stones and the Beatles and the Who and that sort of a thing. And then when Ozzy came out, a Blizzard of Oz, I really kind of latched onto that and realized, well, that wasn't too different from the Beatles. There's a lot of very Beatles-esque elements on Blizzard of Oz, Goodbye to Romance specifically. And so that's kind of when I started going into a heavier route. And I just really loved both of those forms of entertainment throughout my whole life. And when I got into junior high school, I started a band. When I got into high school, I started wrestling, just kind of, you would call it now a backyard wrestling. At the time, we didn't know what it was called. And that's kind of just where it all started. And I thought, when I graduated high school, I thought, well, I can do the conventional things, or I can go try and make it in wrestling and try and make it in rock and roll. And how do you do that? I don't know, but let's give it a try. And here we are, 35 years later, and they both worked out fairly well.
Yeah, they definitely did. And on the note of your father, who lived a very public sporting life, the ice hockey player, what did that teach you about confidence and self-belief before you really needed to use it?
I think it just a lot of it was just go for it, go for your dreams. You know what I mean? As far fetched as they may seem, you just got to go for it. And then you're talking about my dad playing in the NHL. I mean, that was back in the days, 67 to 77. I mean, when he started, there was only six teams in the league. So, times up by 30, there's only 180 guys that could play in the NHL. So it wasn't an easy thing to do. Not that it's easy now either, but I think more than anything, it's not like I was ever really thinking about those sorts of things as a kid. But what I realize now is it provided a great environment that my dad kind of understood what it was like to follow a crazy dream and understood what it was like to take a chance to go do something that's different from what most people do. So when I was a kid, I never had any hesitation from my dad. Not from my mom either, but she was a little bit more, I think, confused and concerned about what I wanted to do. Whereas my dad kind of understood it, was like, if you want to do this, like we'll figure out a way. Like I'll start making calls to people that I know, and he drove me to Calgary the summer before I went to wrestling school so we could check it out. Just stuff like that. There was always a good support system from my parents, and specifically from my dad because he'd been through it before.
Hmm.
And even though pro wrestling is a lot different from pro hockey, the concept is the same. Leaving your house when you're in your teens to go, do something that seems completely out of reach. But if you make it happen, you do your best, you can attain that reach. So I always had that kind of behind me.
So, on the note of Fozzy, it started somewhere very differently to where it is now. What was the moment this sort of left being a project and became the touring sensation it is now?
I mean, I think when we started Fozzy, it was more of an experiment to
Hmm.
see, what we could do with it. And then when we realized that there was a lot of potential, we really started focusing more on it. But I think it was about 2010 before we started the Chasing the Grail record that Rich and I had a conversation like, let's make this full time. Let's go as far as we can with this. And that kind of started us really focusing on touring and the musicianship. And then I think when the Judas record came out,
Hmm.
we started working with a guy called Johnny Andrews, who's basically a brilliant songwriter here in the States that's written dozens of rock radio hits, modern rock radio hits. And we connected with him on Lights Go Out for the Do You Want to Start a War record. And that was our first single that ever charted, that made it to the top 30 on US rock radio, which is still very vibrant and
Yeah.
very important here. Then when Judas came out, right away, it did like a million views on YouTube in a week. It went to number 5 on the charts. That was where things started really rolling for us, and we became essentially what is a radio band. To now we have nine top 10 hits on US rock radio, and that just you could see how the band just grew because of that. Now we've always done great in the UK.
Mhm. Mhm.
I remember our first tour of the UK. Where are you based out of?
Scotland, near Glasgow.
Okay, Glasgow. So the first gig we ever had in the UK was in Nottingham, England.
Hmm.
And I remember when we came on stage, I think it was 2006. I thought we had walked into the wrong room, like the wrong stage, because there were so many people there. I literally couldn't believe it. Like, they're all here to see us.
Hmm.
And it's always been like that in the UK. Glasgow is insane. It's always one of the best shows of the tour. It's always one of the biggest shows on the tour. And whenever I see, that on the itinerary, it's like, okay, that's going to be a great show. And there's always so many great venues in Glasgow. Like, I don't think we've ever played this venue that we're playing this time.
Hmm.
Usually, I think the newest one was the SW13 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but this is what is this called? The TV. Where are we playing?
Is it?
Wherever it is, we'll figure
Yeah.
it out. But it's a place that we haven't played yet. But it doesn't matter where we play because it's Glasgow, and I know it's going to be nuts. So
Hmm.
we're excited about that.
You mentioned Let's Go Out. That is a personal favorite for me. It is my most played gym song. Um, so
Which one is?
Lights Go Out.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's it's a live hit. TV studio. That's what we're called.
Yes.
That's the
Yeah.
venue that we're playing at, the TV studio. So, yeah, Lights Go Out is a great one. It's got a great sing along that we do, and it's
Hmm.
become one of the highlights of the set for me.
Yeah, definitely. So you've reinvented yourself many a time. You're the master of it, especially in wrestling. Do you see reinvention as an instinct or a skill learned?
A little bit of both. I think most of it is instinct, kind of knowing when it's time to make a change. That's all David Bowie, right? Like that
Mm,
comes completely from Bowie. I'm a huge fan of not just the work of Bowie, but the concept of what he did. He would always change things. It didn't matter if you thought he should change it. If he thought it was time, he would do so. And I just love the fearlessness
mm,
of that, the courage of that to completely drop everything that you're known for and try something completely new. Um, and the secret to that is you have to commit to it. And if
mm,
you believe it, people will believe it as well. So that goes for everything, whether it's a character in wrestling, whether it's a style of music that you're playing, whether it's the stage look that you have, the clothes that you're wearing, all of that stuff. It all combines because what you realize when you do this for as long as I have, that nobody really knows what they want or what they like. And you can try and do that, but it's not going to work. You have to do something completely different and revolutionary. And if you can do that and commit to it and make it cool, people will do it. Like I could come to the stage wearing a duck hat, for example. And if I wore that duck hat and really focused in on that duck hat and then started selling duck hats at the merch stand, people would buy duck
yeah.
hats,
Yeah.
because it's cool because I'm doing it. Like that's kind of the attitude you have to have. Why is it cool to wear a duck hat? Because I'm doing it. And if you can think that way, even though there's a little bit of arrogance there, it usually works.
I love that. Did you ever have a reinvention that you thought was going to work, and then once you got out there, you were like, "Oh, I don't know,"
It's been a few. I mean, I wouldn't say so much reinventions per se, but
or
been
personas?
catchphrases that didn't
Hmm.
work. Razzle dazzle was one that I thought for sure was going to be, the next big thing. Another one I had where I would say, get it. And then the crowd would say, got it. And then I would say, good. Get it? Got it. Good. I didn't I didn't use that one enough to get that one
Hmm.
over. to a certain point, but I could probably still do that someday. But yeah. But I mean, sometimes I mean, you look. I mean, with Fozzy being around for 25 years,
Hmm.
sometimes you look at some clothes that you were wearing on stage or something and go, "What was I thinking with this? Like, this did not work the way that I thought it would work. Like, oh man, this is going to be cool." And then you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is not cool." But I think there's a lot of that. Nobody bats 1,000, and when you've had longevity, and with Fozzy it's 26 years, and with wrestling it's 36 years, you're not gonna strike gold every time, and that's okay. That's all part of it as well. Like every band has their era that didn't work out as well as you wanted it to, but it's all part of the overall history and lineage of the band.
So, on the note of that, you've had some iconic moments in both wrestling, in both tours. Standing inside those moments, do they feel different or do they feel the same sort of emotion and electricity?
It always feels different when something special is happening,
Hmm.
and the secret and the key to it is to enjoy it. You can't just treat, you know, I'm looking at a post right now of Fozzy opening for Iron Maiden at a stadium in Los Angeles. Like you can't just look at that as another gig. That's like opening
Yeah.
for fucking Iron Maiden. That's a
Yeah.
big deal. Um, it's like I said, it's like coming to Glasgow. Like it's a big deal to come to a city that loves Fozzy and
Mhm.
appreciates the band and goes extra crazy. So that's something. I mean, there's certain moments like that. Some of them are bigger than others, but you have to enjoy them all when they're happening. And conversely, when it's something that's not working out, you can't let it get in your head and live there forever. You just have to move on to the next. But yeah, you always know a special moment when it's happening. Like when I wrestled Kenny Omega at the Tokyo Dome
Mhm.
in 2018, like you just knew that whole thing was special from conception to announcement to reality to the match itself. It was just one of those entire you know stories and experiences that will be one that you'll never forget. That was special and that influenced a lot of different things. So you get that with both wrestling and with Fozzy and with a lot of different things that I do with the cruise sometimes, or a podcast, or
Yeah.
sometimes I'll have a podcast guest where you go, this one is just such a great show. It's brilliant. So and like I said, those ones when they stand out, and you have to allow yourself to enjoy it, to drink it in, no pun intended.
So you were talking there about moments, and obviously a lot of people talk about longevity, but very few earn it the way you have. What do most people misunderstand about staying relevant in both music or wrestling?
It's a good question. I don't know what people misunderstand, but I think you can't. Um, there's no book of rules to,
Mm.
to staying relevant. Like if I do this, then that's going to keep me relevant. Like it doesn't matter. Like okay, I'll focus on TikTok because that's the new thing. And if I can focus on TikTok, then that makes me relevant. And it doesn't. It's what you do with the platform of TikTok and how you treat it and how you use it as a tool. And I think another thing too is along those lines with not being any rules is there's no line that you can't cross when you're being creative.
Mm.
And I think once again, you have to take some chances and you have to commit to it. You know what I mean? You really have to commit. You can't be wishy-washy because people can smell that, shall we say. So I think, there's just really no set pat, instructions. You just
Mm.
have to I think maybe you really have to lean into your instincts, what you said earlier. And that's a very scary thing to do. Like I say sometimes, like if you're going to take a chance on doing something, it's like standing on top of a skyscraper. And I
Mm.
say to you, all right, Kyle, if you take a step off the skyscraper, you'll fly. It's very hard to take that first step. Because what if I don't? But you will. What if I don't? But you will. And you finally take a step, which is the terrifying moment, and suddenly you're flying. You're 50 feet higher than you were going. Why didn't I take that step earlier? Because taking that one step is very terrifying. And I think that's something that people have to do is take that step. And it was the right way to go. And 99% of the time it is.
Through matches,
Yeah,
through
I
injuries,
mean,
through touring. What got you through all that?
I think you just have to realize that you're very fortunate to be doing what you love to do.
Mm.
You can't take it for granted. Like if you have 200 shows in a year, it's a lot, but it's kind of what we all signed up for because it's even worse to only have two shows a year if you want to be working more. So I think, it's something that Alice Cooper told me years ago. We don't get paid for the 2 hours on stage. We get paid for the 22 hours that it takes to get to the show. So when you're doing the show, wrestling or
Mm.
or or concert, whatever, you want to give 1,000% because the people that show up have been waiting for months, maybe years to see you. They've bought a ticket and they've you know got off work or they've got a babysitter or whatever it may be. So if you're going on stage, you got to give it 1,000%. Never phone it in. And if there's five people there or 5,000 people there, you give the same performance. You don't punish the people who came if it's a small crowd. So yeah, you mentioned living in the moment. Being on stage is the moment, and you leave all of your issues and problems and travel was the shits, or you missed your flight, or you're angry at your boss, or whatever.
Mm.
None of that matters. When you get on stage or get on the platform, get into the ring, you make sure to give the people the show that they paid to see and that they deserve to see. And when you can do that, it kind of makes it a little bit easier to be, on the road for 3 weeks or whatever. And another thing is you just got to get into your routine. That's another way to be on the road as well. You know what you like to do, um, and just kind of focus on your little bubble and stay in that little bubble. And like I said, that everyone's got their own ways of doing things. Some guys would get into a hotel and go set up their video game or read a book or take a nap or whatever the hell it is. And you got to do those certain things that can free your mind so that it's ready for the gig.
So I've got a few quick fire questions for you before we round things out. What's been your favorite city to perform in?
I mean, not just saying this, but Glasgow is one of them. It really is. Chicago is a great
Mm.
city. Um, and Glasgow kind of reminds me of a Chicago. It's kind of a working class
Yeah.
town. But whenever you do a show there, it's always, always fun. Like you go to bigger cities like London, for example, or
Mhm.
New York or LA, those cities aren't quite as crazy. They're always great shows, but the fans are a little bit more subdued because they see so much.
Yeah.
Whereas you go to Glasgow, not that it's a small city, but I don't know how many bands play there or don't play there. I don't care. All I know is whenever Fozzy plays there, it's
Mhm.
fucking, it's on, man. And I love that. Manchester is like that in England as well. There's a lot of great cities in England. We've always had a great time in England and Scotland and Wales. Um, yeah, and Australia is always great for
Yeah.
us. Sydney is a great town. Melbourne over there is a great town. Yeah, but I think Glasgow is would be top 10 for me for sure.
Awesome.
Um, to the point where I'm smiling about thinking about going there, just how nuts it's going to be. It's fun, and there's always like crazy chants that don't
Mhm.
exist
Yeah.
anywhere else. Um, I don't think I think maybe a fuzzy 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 oi 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 is a
Yeah.
Glasgow chant, and I don't know why because that's more of an Australia thing. But we go to Glasgow, that's one of them. They'll be chanting everything though. You guys will be chanting like if someone has a freaking bangers and mash or something, there'll be a bangers and mash chant, like
Yep.
whatever it may be. It's always just a party. We're really excited.
Oh, we definitely do love a chant. Is there
We
a
love a good chant. Yeah.
dream match you wish you'd had?
I think the one I always go to is the Hart brothers,
Mm.
Brett and Owen. I never got to wrestle either one of them, even though I was in WCW when Brett was there. And another one would be Randy Savage. Never got to
Yep.
wrestle with him, even though. And the sad thing is, we were in the same company, and
Mm.
you think somebody would have went, "Hey, that'd be a good match for Monday Nitro. Give them 15 minutes. Savage versus Jericho. Savage over at the end. You're like, fuck.
Mm.
I mean, that's what you do
Yeah.
with wrestling. You put the older guys with the younger guys and build each other. But it just never happened for whatever reason. But those are the ones that I would really have loved because they were all very big influences on me. But other than that, everybody else I pretty much wrestled.
Do you have a favorite opponent to share the ring with?
I mean, I got to go with Shawn Michaels. We
Yeah.
had some great times. I think that feud in 2008 is one of the greatest we've ever in
Hmm.
WWE, and
Hmm.
that's not from an egotistical standpoint. I think it's just from if you could make a documentary on that on how to
Hmm.
get a storyline over. AEW wise, I loved working with MJF. I love working with Mox. I think
Hmm.
Mox and I had some great chemistry as well. I loved working with The Rock way back when, 25 years ago before he left. He and I had really great chemistry. Kenny Omega, we've never had a bad match. So there's been quite a few over the years.
What's your favorite song to perform live?
Well, I mean, Judas is one of them because that's the hit for us, right?
Hmm.
That's the one that everybody knows, everybody sings along to. I love Lights Go Out. I love playing the newer stuff, Fall in Line, Crazy Train. We
Hmm.
just released that as a single. That's fun to play live. So we've kind of structured the set to the point where all the songs are fun to play live. And we also change the set every tour to keep it fresh. So the set that we'll be playing in Glasgow this tour will be different from the one we played a couple years ago. Now, there's certain songs you have to play, and we love
Yeah.
them, but we like kind of subbing a few of them in and out as well. So I think there's 4 or 5 songs this tour that we didn't play last time. So it's going to be a great show.
If there was one wrestling match that you could tell fans to rewatch, what would it be of yours?
Um, we mentioned Kenny versus Jericho at the Tokyo Dome. That's a great one. Sean versus Chris, the ladder match we had
Hmm.
in Portland in 2008, I think was a great one. So there's been quite a few.
So, two final questions for you. The term choose life can mean very different things to different people. For you now, if nobody was watching, what does choosing life mean to you?
Wow, it's a Wham shirt that George Michael wore
Yeah.
in the "Wake Me Up Before You Go" video. I think choosing life is kind of what we've been discussing. Just
Mhm.
just choose life, live your life, live without fear, and make some choices that are adventurous.
Mhm.
Enjoy your life. Like it's very short, as we know and as we see over and over again. So, um, I think the opposite of choosing life would be choosing mediocrity or choosing being miserable or choosing negativity. Don't do that. To me, choosing life means being positive and not taking no for an answer and not being afraid to take some chances with what you're doing.
It's beautiful.
That's what that means to me.
So, last question. Everyone I interview leaves a question or advice for the next. My last wanted to pass on. When you were a child, what was something that you did that lit up your soul?
Something that I did that what?
Lit up your soul.
Lift up my soul
Yeah. Something that makes you feel good inside.
when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, it's what we've been talking about, listening to music, man, watching
Mhm.
wrestling. I mean, that was the whole reason for my existence when I was a kid was seeing what was going on in the WWF and Stampede Wrestling
Mhm.
and waiting to hear the new Iron Maiden record and then going to see them live. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's and to this day, I still
Mhm.
can't wait for the next Iron Maiden record. Um, I think music was such an escape for me and such freedom and so much fun. I still love going to there's a local probably 10 minutes from my house. I go see cover bands every week. And I went and saw a Depeche Mode cover band last week. And it's like I know 5 Depeche Mode songs, but it didn't matter. It was still fun. So yeah, that still is an escape for me. Music is everything.
Awesome. I love that. So, without knowing who's going to be next, what's something you'd like to pass on?
I mean, yeah, man. Like I said, just follow your dreams and don't take no for an answer. Just do what you think you can do and make it happen. Don't look for reasons why it can't happen. Look for reasons how you can make it work.
Awesome. Thanks so much for this. I can't
Thanks,
wait to see
man.
you in Glasgow, February 14th.
Looking forward to Valentine's Day. That's gonna be great.
Yes. Thanks so
Awesome,
much.
man. Cheers, dude. Thank you.